My brain injury was an AVM, an arteriovenous malformation. I developed it in utero. I was born with it. In my cerebellum, part of my brain that controls my movement and coordination and all the nerves that are responsible for your muscles coordinating together to move. There was your arteries and your veins, and there was no capillaries. So my blood in that part of my brain didn't slow down and didn't get filtered, and I was 17 years old when it burst. When it burst, it affected my movement and coordination of my entire body. I couldn't walk or talk because nothing would communicate with each other. My body, I knew what I wanted to do, but I couldn't physically do it. And that was very confronting for a 17-year-old who wants to party and not care and not have any responsibilities and has spent their whole life being able to say things and do things. And it was very hard in my recovery, which took a long time because I had to learn everything from scratch. It was explained to me in the way that I was physically back to a baby stage. And so all my progress over 17 years, everything I'd learned to walk and talk and make my bed and make food and facial expressions was just stripped away. I had to relearn it. I had to get my body to relearn it. But I already knew it up here. And so it was really frustrating because I was like, just smile or just walk over there and pick up that cup. But I couldn't do that. So it affected me physically more than anything. At the very beginning, it did affect me mentally in the way I didn't really read the room. I didn't really take social cues. I was sort of out of it, so that played a part in my disorientation, not realizing what's going on around me. And then the frustration kicked in where I didn't care what was going on around me. I just wanted to get it out. I just wanted to break out, and I slowly, very slowly got better and better. I didn't just learn to walk one day. I went from being completely bedridden and then being able to use my hands slowly and strength. So I was able to lift myself up and lift myself out of a bed, but I still had to lift myself into a wheelchair, then learn to coordinate my body with a walking stick, which never happened because it was just too much coordination for my body to focus on. So I skipped the walking stick. But then it was step by step, and I remember the first time I did walk was a total of 1.5 steps. I was ecstatic, but it was 1.5 steps. But it was unassisted walking, and I thought I was the best. But yeah, that now I can run when I want to, which isn't very often. I was in the hospital. I was admitted to the Mater, and when they figured out what was wrong, and it's pretty serious, they rushed me off to John Hunter. And that's where they stabilised me. Then when I didn't get the all clear but got okay, she's not dead, I went to Rankin Park Rehab Centre and was live-in there, and that's on the same grounds as the John Hunter Hospital, but that is for people that are going to make it. It was still intense. It was live-in. Every day I had the physiotherapy, speech therapy, and I then got interviewed to go to the brain injury service. That was a real important time for me, because that place is for people that are seriously going to get better. That is very intense rehabilitation for you to get back to where you were. And that's where they were sending me. So that was, again, physiotherapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, your counselling for your emotional health, as well as cooking your own meals, making your own bed. I lived in there for months, 4 months, which was a lot longer than you generally stay there, but that's how much work I had to do to get better. And then I had outpatient status with them still, so I went in to my therapy sessions, but I mainly lived at home with my mum. A caseworker had to go to my mum's house and make sure I could live there, which was okay, because at the time mum had very small children, so it was pretty baby proof anyway, so there's not much I could really get into. Cognitively I was fine, so it wasn't like getting my fingers into things I shouldn't. It was physically, I was, not very good. After my brain injury, I was known as the sick girl. Everyone, even people I didn't know, they'd heard the story around Newcastle and, oh, you're that person. And that was a bit annoying, and I only shook that stigma about 5 years ago, and it made me very determined to not be the sick girl, so I kept my plate very full so I could make something of myself and not be the sick girl. It still affects me, obviously, emotionally. Maybe 2 years ago, 18 months ago, I had this complex that I was behind because I was 17 and I was in hospital and rehab and getting my life together for a good few years. And by then, everyone had turned 18, everyone had graduated uni, having their 21st, got proper jobs and life paths, and I didn't have anything. So I felt behind. I felt like I was lazy. I hadn't done anything with my life. So that again made me more determined to make something of myself and have a direction. Physically, it still affects me on my right side. It's my wrist muscles that are really unpredictable. I was right-handed, and over time, because they're so unpredictable and I never use my right hand, I've turned left-handed. So you will never see me pick up a glass of water or anything that could break or spill or anything with my right hand. I just won't do it. And it's fine now because my brain, I don't think about it. My brain has just adapted to doing it with my left hand. When I get tired very quickly, but it's not a tired mentally, it's my body. I just need to sit down. Like my muscles and my bones, I just get tired or lazy. I don't know what it is. I went traveling and I could only really do a couple of hours a day because I was traveling and I wanted to hang out in a cafe and drink wine, but also because I was like, I don't want to walk around anymore. It's very beautiful, but I don't care. It still affects me less mentally now because I'm very proud of myself and I'm very proud of my progress. Thinking where I was a decade ago. But physically, yeah, that's sort of ingrained in me as well, because I used to be very adventurous and push the boundaries a bit physically, jump over this fence, let's just do this. I don't even think about it anymore. That's how my brain has adapted to that sort of behaviour as well, because I know I can't. So I'm not going to do it if I know I'm going to fail. So I left school at the end of year 11 to go to Hunter Street Art School. I was 8 months into my certificate 3 when it happened, so I was already painting and art making before my AVM, which made it more devastating when I lost use of my right side and coordination of both my hands, because I couldn't even I couldn't coordinate my fingers to hold the paintbrush or hold the pencil. I couldn't write, I couldn't paint in a specific direction. So that really affected me because I was just starting and it was all over. And I was really depressed because that was my thing, that was my outlet. And I really struggled with that. And not a lot, but I feel like my occupational therapy sessions were based around art because there was a clear interest for me there, and that works to fine motor skills. But because I couldn't do it, I got frustrated. I was 17 and I couldn't do what I was really good at doing anymore. So I got really frustrated with those sessions and my lack of ability, I guess, in art. But I kept at it, and very slowly I was able to grasp a pencil. So then I was able to grasp a paintbrush, and then I want to put over here and it did it. Cognitively I was still there, so I still knew my color theory, I still knew my placement and texture and all the fundamentals of art I learned. So it was just a matter of putting that on a canvas, and I slowly was able to do that. Then I went back to art school and finished, and then I did a diploma, and that took me into uni, into a bachelor, and I graduated that. And by the end of that, that really helped with my progress because I didn't capitalize on the fact I couldn't do it. I wanted to be like everyone else in my class, and I was perceived like that. Not many people knew that 5 years before that I couldn't hold a paintbrush. And that was really important to me, and I had a great time. My graduation exhibition, I had a great time. I loved it. And that reminded me why I wanted to be an artist. And I was super proud of myself for still being an artist. So I was still becoming the person I was going to be for the rest of my life. I didn't want to put myself in a box. This is who I am, because that's not who I am. I identify as someone with a disability, with an ongoing disability, because there are things I can't do and there's things I won't attempt. But I'm not a brain injury sufferer. I'm an arts worker, and I'm a painter, and I'm a musician, and I'm a girlfriend, and I'm a fur dog baby mum, and I'm lots of other things that I do really well. So focus on that. I do expressionist pieces. They're very personal. They're how I feel or what situation I'm in. Do I have a breakup? Do I have to go shopping that day? Is my dog sick? I don't really do studies. It's pretty much whatever comes out. So it is very personal. The colors I use and the texture and the placement of things is very representative of how I feel that day. So I don't really plan ahead that much. And that's reflected in the paintings I put in Reclaim. I did 2 of those while I was in quarantine. So they're just about my everyday life. And one of those was when I was listening to a song and how that song made me feel, what to what colours I use, that's reflected, you know, it's airy, it's light, it's bubbly, this work of art, because that's how I felt listening to this song. My work in general is expressionist, various sized. They're very, reflective of how I'm feeling that day, what's going on in my life, what's going on everywhere with everyone's life. Do we have a pandemic? Like, do we not? Do I have uni? It's just how I feel. Part of the process for me, once the paint's dry on the canvas or the board or whatever I'm using, that's not the end of my painting. My paintings and my art practice takes into account the reaction that an audience member gets. So if I can stir up some sort of emotion within the viewer, then that painting's finished. Me just painting, letting it dry and sitting on my house, it's not finished. It's got to be seen or exhibited or whatever to be finalised. I interned at Newcastle Art Space for 12 months. That ended the end of July, end of June. And since then I've been working there in various capacities. I work on a project by project basis. When I have a contract or a certain responsibility, certain exhibition, event, workshop, whatever it may be, I take the lead on that, and I'm in at Newcastle Art Space several times a week. When I don't have a project and I'm just helping around, I go in maybe one day a week when they need me. If they don't need me, they have to pay me, so they're like, don't come in, we don't need you. Which isn't bad, because like I said, I'm an artist. I appreciate having time to myself. I was working for an event company in Sydney, but they had a lot of Newcastle business, and I was their hunter representative. That was really interesting and really great also, but their offices were in Sydney, so when I took lead on a project, I would have to go into the office 2 to 5 days a week, or so that was hard for me. Getting up at 5, getting the train, coming home at 10 or whatever it was, and I would just have no life and I had no time for myself. So now having this sort of job description, which is sometimes we need you heaps and sometimes we don't need you at all, it works for me because I get time to myself, and not having that has made it so much more valuable in my eyes. I know what it's like not to have time to paint or play music or can't make plans. So now I really am like, that's fine, I'll see you next week. Like, it's good. It's good for me.
That's good.
I live independently now. I live in Islington with my boyfriend of 7 years, and we have a dog, and I take him for walks every day because he's a Labrador, so if he doesn't get exercise, he'll just eat, and I can't afford for him to get sick. I was in a band for many years after I got discharged from hospital. That was to feel good about myself, but also that helped with my fine motor skills on the guitar. It ended my ability to play sport. Perhaps I could get that back. I've never attempted to regain my ball handling skills. So who knows about that one, but that's the only thing I really miss about pre-accident. I call it my accident because it was no one's fault. I drive, I work, and some money, I exhibit, and not out of pity, I actually have some pretty good works, or works that are really attractive to whoever I approach about exhibiting, whatever gallery or space. People buy my works, so I do some commissions. Hopefully because I genuinely like it, again, not pity money. I think I do really well at the moment. I'm very happy. I'm finally where I thought I would be at 30. Because when this initially happened, I was 17. And I thought my life was over. And I thought, that's it, I'm done. I'm going to be living with my mum in a wheelchair forever. But I'm 29, nearly 30 now, and I'm where I think a 30-year-old should be. Still partying, still working, still doing my thing, painting, making my own decisions. I'm pretty happy with where I am now at 30. It was a long road, but I got there. And I didn't get there by stopping.